Good morning, midweek. I'm Nikki Stanzione.
And I'm Kristen Van Dyke.
And this is New Mexico Style. And as Kristen mentioned, we are going to have a really special guest today talking about a double lung transplant. Incredible.
Amazing. He made it through.
Oh my gosh.
He's road to recovery. We're going to hear about it.
Oh yeah, and he is on his second win. In fact, that's what the bracelets say. And of course, these green bracelets signify organ donation. So really cool. We're glad to have him here, and we're glad to have these and to bring awareness to an important subject.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Now, here's another important subject. Everybody's been talking about it since yesterday. Sherman Hemsley, widely known for his role as George Jefferson in the long-running The Jefferson sitcom, died at his home in El Paso yesterday at only 74 years old. Now, of course, Hemsley was best known as that wisecracking George Jefferson. Now, first we saw him on All in the Family, and he was always having problems with Archie Bunker. And then they made a spin-off called The Jeffersons, and it was all must-see TV in the 70s and 80s. I still don't miss it. Still watch it in reruns.
Oh, I know. Just looking at it makes me want to laugh. I mean, you know, moving on up.
Yep. And, you know, I saw a lot of posts. People were saying, and obviously a play on words, you know, George Jefferson has truly moved up to that deluxe apartment in the sky.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it kind of gives you chills when you think of it like that. You know, I heard an interesting story, Kristen, yesterday. Norman Lear, who was the creator of All in the Family and The Jeffersons, he had really wanted Sherman Hemsley to play the part. Now, I think Sherman Hemsley was on Broadway. He was doing some kind of theater at the time. And he came to him and he said, I have a role for you on All in the Family. I really want you to play. You're the right guy. And George. And Sherman made him wait, I think, about 2 years before he finally decided to take this part.
Wow.
And what a decision that was. Obviously a very good choice that he made.
Life around,
No doubt about it.
Well, not turn it around, but it really blew him up and got him out there in the spotlight.
It sure did, yeah. So prayers and thoughts to his family and friends. But he'll live on forever, and all these reruns. We'll never miss out on those.
That's true.
And now let's check in with KRQE News 13 anchor Elizabeth Alvarez with this morning's headlines. Good morning, Madame.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday, ladies. Happy Wednesday to you at home. Let's kick off your news headlines this morning talking about the man who is facing charges right now in Rio Rancho after police say he went on a massive graffiti spree that not only left behind a big mess, it also offended a whole lot of people. Residents on Raspberry Street woke up to this morning. Graffiti everywhere, some of which included racial slurs. Now, police say 23-year-old Jose Campos is the man responsible for this. Campos was arrested after one of his neighbors called 911 to report the vandalism. The city cleaned up the graffiti on the retaining wall, but some neighbors had to clean up their own property. More testimony is expected today in the trial of a former sheriff's deputy accused of making a woman drop her pants in order to avoid a DWI. Former Valencia County Deputy Patrick Duran is charged with extortion and false imprisonment. The victim told the jury yesterday that she and her boyfriend were inside a parked car back in September of 2010 when Deputy Duran approached them. She says Duran allegedly took her to the back of his patrol car and made her undress from the waist down. The victim said the officer sped away after her boyfriend got out of the car and tried to put a stop to the alleged incident. Now, Duran's attorney insists they have the wrong guy. The defense also said yesterday that the victim could not identify what agency the officer was with in a 911 call made that night. All right, attention garbage customers in Albuquerque. If you overload your trash bin, you'll have to pay a fine from here on out. The city is cracking down on overstuffed pickup bins, and I am guilty of that right here, as they are trying to cut out a litter problem in the city.
The most basic is litter. Is the truck goes to unload that container and trash just blows out of the container or falls out of the container because it doesn't make it into the hopper because it's overloaded.
Yeah, note to self, definitely gotta wise up on this one. Trash truck drivers are going to start reporting customers who do not follow these new rules. You're going to get 2 warnings, but after the 3rd one, you're going to have to pay $15. Now, you can get another bin, just so you know, for an extra $5 a month, something perhaps I should look into. Also, people who set up trash bins too close to mailboxes or cars for the pickup trucks to pick the trash up will also face extra charges. A public memorial for a beloved fire chief tragically killed in a wreck is planned for this Friday. Don Tibbetts was killed Monday morning when a man in a Cadillac station wagon collided with his vehicle on I-25 northbound near Bernalillo. The Sandoval County Fire Chief's vehicle spun out of control and flipped over. He was wearing his seatbelt but died in the crash. His funeral is scheduled now for Thursday at Daniel's Funeral Home in Rio Rancho, and there is a public memorial, as I mentioned, that's going to be held at the Santa Ana Star Center the following day. All right, listen to this one. A Cimarron man and woman that's up in northwest New Mexico. They faced child abuse charges this morning because police say they failed to protect the woman's 6-year-old boy from getting a severe sunburn. Authorities say 27-year-old Ashley Schlinke's son suffered first and second degree burns on his body. They say it left large blisters on his back and shoulder. Now, authorities have yet to arrest the mom, but they say an arrest is forthcoming. 38-year-old David Martinez turned himself into police on Friday. An officer apparently spotted the boy last month and says that neither adult took any step to protect the child. And lastly, not good news here. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but New Mexico is ranked 49th in the country when it comes to a child's well-being. The 2012 Kids Count data book has been released, and the annual ranking of child welfare in the state, or I should say in the entire United States, the new findings show that only Mississippi fared far worse than New Mexico. The study shows New Mexico has a long way to go in improving the economic, education, and community overall for kids. It states more than a third of the state's parents lacked secured employment in 2010, and 30,000 more New Mexico kids now live in poverty than they did in 2005. Last year, by the way, New Mexico ranked 46, so we got a little bit worse ranking there. That wraps it up for your Wednesday morning. Be sure to catch Matt Morrow, Kristen Van Dyke, and me every weekday morning beginning at 4:30 a.m. on KRQE News 13. Nikki, Kristen, going to send it back to you.
Thanks,
what about that couple up in northwest New Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
Ew, sunburn situation. Kind of reminds you of the New Jersey mom. Remember that?
Oh, my God.
She got arrested.
Tanner? The crazy Tanner? Yeah. A little out of control. Thanks,
All right.
Elizabeth. Sure. Appreciate it. Okay, now we're going to turn it around. Bring some good news, because that was some really bad news. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about Hollywood buzz time.
That's right. TMZ correspondent Gary Trock joins us from LA this morning. Good morning.
Hi, Gar.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you. Okay, we want to tell you that yesterday on our show, we actually mentioned that you guys over at TMZ had reported that one of the victims in the Colorado movie theater shooting has lawyered up and plans to file a lawsuit against Warner Brothers, the Century 16 Theater, and the accused shooter's doctor. So what is this guy alleging that these defendants are all guilty of?
Okay, so the guy that lawyered up, his name is Torrance Brown. He was the best friend of A.J. Boyko, who died in the attacks in the movie theater. He was one of the victims that was shot. So Torrance is saying, so he's targeting 3 defendants in this thing. So the first, the movie theater, he is saying that because one of the theories is that James Holmes came in, bought a ticket, sat in the movie theater, left through the emergency exit, and then came back in, that emergency exit should have sounded a major alarm when he hit it, and the fact that it didn't, that is possibly a malfunction, but the theater is negligent that wasn't functioning properly. So he's saying that that's the first one. The second one, James Holmes' doctors, he's saying that they should have been possibly monitoring him better, with dosage and medication and therapy. So he is blaming them. The other defendant in this right now is Warner Brothers, because he's saying that because James Holmes dressed up like a character from the movie, people in the theater, there was a confusion whether it was an act or whether it was real. Right. The line in between fiction and reality was blurred. I don't know how good a chance he has with that last one, but I think the first 2 he does have a possible good chance with, especially the fact that the movie theater door didn't sound an alarm if in fact James Holmes did use that to get out of there. So he hasn't filed anything official yet, but he's the first sort of victim in this whole thing to come out with legal allegations.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of figured somebody would, and I agree with you 100%, Gary. I think that first thing really does hold up, because you have to wonder if that alarm sounded, how many victims, how many less victims there may have been. You have to wonder.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, at least security would have responded quicker. People could have, cleared the theater. Exactly. It could have saved everybody's lives.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm sure you'll keep us posted on that.
All right. Well, so now switching gears a little bit, what's up with the Jackson clan? Can you break it down for us?
Break
this is literally a soap opera unfolding before our very eyes. So surprise, surprise, the Jacksons can't get along with each other. So the family is divided right now. You have Marlon, Tito, and Jackie on one side, and then on the other side you have Janet, Jermaine, Randy, and Rebe. LaToya is kind of like not even in this at all, but apparently five of the siblings have gotten together, and they feel that the executors in the Michael Jackson estate have mismanaged the estate, that they have actually called them criminals and said that they believe that they've been taking money that is rightfully belongs to the Jacksons. So it's almost like they hatched a plan to take Catherine Jackson away from her grandchildren and from LA. She is in Arizona right now. Part of the family can't get in touch with her. Like Marlon, Tito, and Jackie have said that they've actually not been able to speak with her. Paris Jackson has been tweeting like a madman that she can't talk to her grandmother. It's been 10 days now, and she hasn't been able to speak with her. So now there was even an instance in Calabasas. We have video on our site yesterday where Jermaine and Janet showed up at the house, and they tried to confront Paris and Prince Jackson, Michael's kids, and they got into like an altercation. Randy was there. Janet tried to actually snatch a cell phone out of Paris's hand and had to be restrained by Randy. And then Janet and Jermaine got in a fight outside the house. We have pictures of. I mean,
Jackson
it's literally
drama.
This is crazy. It is so crazy. So as of now, I know. So now we know that Tito's son, TJ Jackson, who had a really close relationship with Michael Jackson and Michael's kids, is actually making a move to get a temporary guardianship over Michael's kids so that he can basically care for them while Catherine is kind of being subjected to this weird incident that's going on. So, I don't even know where it goes from here. The main question I have is, where's Joe Jackson?
Where is Joe? Where is the man?
Step in and make some order.
Yeah, because he's usually pretty good.
It is pretty crazy.
Putting the orders out there. Well, you know what's so interesting, Gary? I don't know if you knew this, but we talked. I interviewed Jackie Jackson last week. He was in Albuquerque because they were doing their Unity tour here, and that's when it all started. Because I guess that's when they said that Catherine went missing because she was supposedly on her way to see the concert here in New Mexico, and then ended up in Phoenix instead.
Well,
and that's what went crazy.
Exactly. That's what they took her. She went under the ruse that she was going to the Unity tour, but she detoured and she never showed up, and they haven't spoken with her since. And so, the contact with her is being very controlled right now. This looks like it's been an elaborate plan that's been set up for quite some time.
Wow. Well, I know you'll keep us up to date on that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more happening with that story.
Stop the love you save me, be your own.
TMZ is also reporting that the cast of Modern Family wants out of their current contracts, a bold move to score much fatter paychecks, I think. But what are the details with that, Gary?
Yeah, so basically all the adults on Modern Family, minus Ed O'Neill, have filed a lawsuit against Fox. They want out of their contracts. They're claiming that their contracts violate a California law. It's called like the 7-year law, that you can't have personal contracts exceeding longer than 7 years. Basically, though, they've realized what a hit Modern Family is, and they want money. And this is, they are all together right now. And what's kind of interesting is Ed O'Neill was not part of this lawsuit with the rest of the cast, because he was making a lot of money, but we're told that he's actually joined up with them out of solidarity. So it's almost like a Friends type scenario right now, where they're all getting together. They're saying we want more money, and they also want more flexibility to do other jobs. They are very popular now, and Julie Bowen, Ty Burrell, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, they could get other jobs right now, and they can't, right, because of their contracts. They're very strict, so they want more flexibility with that. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's such a hit show. Fox can't, Fox is the production company, so they can't afford to lose it. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely. Wow, really interesting information, Gary. Thank you so much. Lots of gossip, and we'll get a lot more from you tonight on TMZ at 5:30 right here on 2 Casa Fox. Wow, interesting stuff.
Man, the Jackson family feud.
I know.
It's insane.
That's a real family feud for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is also some interesting news. I know a lot of people have been seeing a lot on Facebook and social media about this, but really good. Yesterday, The Dark Knight Rises star Christian Bale, Batman himself, paid a surprise visit to hospitalized victims of last week's Colorado movie theater shooting.
During his visit to Colorado's Swedish Medical Center, the actor took photos with survivors and hospital staff members. Bale also paid his respects to the victims at a makeshift memorial memorial near the Aurora movie theater.
Good for him. And you know what I think? I think it's important for people to see that there are superheroes. You know, I think it's been tainted because of what happened, and I think it's a good way to show, hey, look, I was in this movie and you came out to see my movie. Thank you. You know, and I'm sorry for what you went through. I feel like that's what the message was. And
can you imagine being an actor in that movie? I mean, that would just, I'd have such a heavy heart. I mean, it's not his fault, obviously, but
clearly, clearly he had a heavy heart. So good for him. That's nice to hear. I love hearing stories like that about good actors and good people. And here's interesting also. A New Mexico State University student is making news. Robert Edmonds has been awarded a fellowship to study dust storms on Mars.
On Mars. This is really cool. Edmonds will study the connections between atmospheric gravity waves and dust storms. The waves show momentum from low to high altitudes on Earth, causing shifts in wind speed and atmospheric turbulence. You know, we have gravity waves here on Earth, but there's still a lot of question as how exactly those work. So he's going to study them on Mars, and hopefully you'll learn more there. It can kind of help us learn more how they work here. And
it's cool. I love looking at that graphic. So interesting. Yeah, I love these stories. You learn so much on New Mexico Style.
Well, bicycling, if your bike needs some TLC, you're going to be in luck this morning. The Duke City Wheelman Foundation has teamed up with Trek Superstore bicycle shops to service some bikes.
Yeah, the team will be servicing customers at Noonday Ministries this morning from 9 to 11. And in addition to basic bicycle maintenance, they will also install front and rear lights for those who use their bicycles as their mode of transportation. So really nice to be able to have, you know, safety when biking. You know that better than anybody, don't you?
Oh, yeah. You want that bike to be in tip-top ship shape, whatever it is, that phrase, however that phrase goes. But you really want it to be ready to go, because once you get on it, I mean, well, for me anyway, I'm enough of a danger.
No more falls, no more falls.
We'll see what happens after this week.
Speaking of falls, thank you all the people who wrote in that they hope we're okay from all our falls going into the shower this week. I appreciate that. Okay, moving on, sorry.
All right, well, if you're planning a trip to Carlsbad Caverns soon, you better reschedule. The famous caverns were closed for a second day after heavy chemical fumes in the visitor center made 7 employees sick there.
Yeah, the fumes apparently came from a solvent that was used by a contractor to clean rails in an elevator shaft, and there's no word on when the caverns will reopen, so we will certainly keep you posted.
I hope they get that fixed soon. You know, I went down to the caverns not too long ago, and whenever it rains, that's when the bats really get out and they get to get their food, and so that's why people want to come. They want to see that all the bats fly out, and so this is a good time of the year. So hopefully they'll get it back going again.
I remember when Kenny went day tripping there, so yeah, it's definitely a great place to go. Hopefully it will open up soon. Now, yesterday, I have to say, the thunder literally went right through me. I mean, I was like, what in the world? It felt like a war zone. I'm not kidding. The thunder went through my body.
It was popping like this. It was.
Yes.
There was a lot of lightning.
Yes. So what now? Is it going to happen again?
Well, we could see more storms actually today. The active weather is going to be sticking around for a lot of the state.